Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome back to OSHA, the place that just shows you how not to do your job, really. Like, whether it be electrical leads or up on a ladder, whatever it may be, just don't follow these people's examples. But anyway, let's jump straight into it, shall we? So then, starting right off with, it's safe to say it's pretty cold here at the moment. It's common for the workers to be transported home in this fashion, but never with a fire before. What am I looking at here? It looks like it's something out of a movie, or more so even just a video game where some kind of just visual glitch is going, hang on a second, why is there a fire in the back of a truck? And no one can explain it, and that's what's going on here. Well, I mean, I guess the tray of the truck is going to be virtually just a full steel construction, so there's not going to be anything wrong there. I might have a little bit of a burn patch, but it will sweep off. But the main thing is, if that heat just starts transferring down and just through the tray into the fuel tank, you might have a few problems. Or even if they're lucky enough to not have problems at the same time, no one would otherwise just be lighting a fire, I don't know, what, 20 centimeters away from a massive fuel tank? Really, that isn't even regarding the fact that they're just in the back of a tray, no seatbelts, no nothing. I mean, I guess like the person said, it's common, but I've certainly never seen anything like this, nothing that's legal at least. And so look, I guess they said that they were workers in the back of the truck, and I guess it might be just common. I don't know where would ever do that. And then maybe the police don't kind of frown on it, and so I guess that's just up to their own discretion. But I must say, to have the need to have a fire in the back of a truck just means it's so cold. Like really, if you're not able to be outside or just sitting down for, I don't know how long the trip is, but let's say it's 20 minutes, then I feel as though you probably just shouldn't be outside for that long. And it doesn't look as though there's snow all over the ground or even just ice, and so really, how cold can it be? How needed is this fire? I mean, I guess if that's what these guys want, that's what they've done, but man, I just cannot understand this situation. And so look, I guess the title said that they were workers. I've certainly never seen anything like that, and really, and more so, I feel as though these posts could be in idiots in cars or idiots outside of a truck, because even though I guess it is related to work, and so it's OSHA in that regard, at the same time, if they're kind of leaving, they've obviously finished work in some way. A Rube Goldberg machine of broken bones starting with the guy on the left. Wow, I can certainly see what the title is talking about. Look at that. What is that? A ladder on a ladder, with a guy straddling a ladder with another ladder. I don't even know what that fourth ladder or third ladder, I don't know how many ladders are in there anymore, but I have absolutely no idea what that last ladder is even perched on. Is it some kind of painter's thing? Because it looks as though that's what they're doing with a paint bucket or something there. But no, it is always these kind of guys that have just done it for years, and that's how they've done it for years, and so they go, no, we haven't had any incidents, or maybe we haven't had any major incidents, and so they just continue doing it for the rest of their lives. And that might not necessarily mean that it's a very long life, but it is definitely for the rest of their lives, because just look at that carnage, or possible carnage. But to be honest, what I'm finding the most dangerous and also the most impressive thing about it is, how the hell did they get into that circumstance in the beginning? Because we are to get all those ladders up into that location, did they need to kind of form a train, or did someone hold the ladder? Was someone already on the roof and they just didn't need a ladder? Just how do they actually get them up there in the first place? Because hey, who knows, maybe that is the safest part of their day so far. I mean, I have been staring at this photo wondering what would be the best way to go about it. Like, do they need scaffolding? I mean, I guess maybe they need a boom lift or an EWP or whatever it may be, but either way, that is certainly not the way to be going about it, just stacking ladders on ladders on ladders. To be honest, even though, like I said, an EWP or maybe some scaffolding would be the safest and kind of easiest way, it definitely isn't the most cost-effective way, but it is going to be the easiest way to go about doing this. At the same time, I feel as though some kind of static line, safety line, rope line, whatever you want to call it, would definitely just be kind of the most effective, safest way to go about doing this, you know? There are so many times when people are on roofs and they're just falling off, and so you certainly don't want to be having that, especially not from a ladder onto another ladder and then off the roof from there. So I just wish that we were able to see the sides of the house, because if there's room down the side, you can always just park a car, tie a rope to the car, and really, you're going to be fine from there. Obviously, you do have to know what you're doing in terms of tying knots and all those kind of things, and I have a harness as well, but at the same time, if you fall, you're not going to be doing any damage to the car. And to be honest, as a business, that's kind of even more cost effective, because you don't have to be sending 3 guys to a single job site just to accomplish one thing. I mean, that is a question. How the hell were these guys going to accomplish this without the 3 of them there on that day? Who knows? I can only presume that it would have been a hell of a lot more sketchy than it currently is, and that is certainly saying something. But no, really, if you just have a rope line, whether it's attached to the house or a car or what, but just make sure it's attached to something that's structural. If you can manage that, then you will certainly just have a good time painting this. And then hey, if you need to do a ladder from there, I don't really even care about that in comparison to this, because even though you might fall off the ladder, then at least you're not going to hit the ground, and that's the thing that's actually going to hurt the most. Not sure how I feel about the new lockout tagger. Do not turn on, big boom, very bad. What kind of cute has written this? Man, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that either. I mean, it kind of makes me laugh, but at the same time, it's very, very scary, isn't it? The fact that they can just kind of go, oh, you know, a little bit of blue tape and never hurt anyone, and just don't touch it, you idiot. Because everybody knows that everyone is just renowned for just following directions, you know? Nobody has ever seen a sign before and just then proceeded to completely dismiss it, and then maybe it could just even cause a big boom, who knows? Either way, as it says, it would be a very bad situation, so I'd love to know what this is connected to, because that just seems scary. Because to be honest, it's kind of the most childish portion of this entire thing that scares me the most. The fact that they haven't written danger or anything like that, the fact that they wrote big boom, I feel as though they weren't kind of exaggerating with writing that. So like I said, just what the hell happens if you flick that switch, and who was the poor bugger that realized that that was what happens when you flick that switch? I mean, judging by the switches around it, we can certainly see that there's a 100 amp circuit just above it, and then a 225 amp circuit below it. So man, there is some serious power going through these things, and they aren't even the main one, like the main breaker is down below. Or at least that's certainly what it looks like to these unqualified eyes. But no, the fact that they could be possibly dealing with 100 amps or more is certainly going to be a very big boom if you flick that switch and it's not connected to the right thing. I mean, but in the defense of whoever wrote that, I can't actually see a way to tag these things out because they look so old that there is no way to kind of attach them to anything. Perhaps people are used to ones where, I don't know, you can cable tie them or something, but there is certainly no way that looking at those ones where we can see here that there is any way to attach them besides just kind of taping them or putting something over them. And so in saying that, at least someone has actually gone to the effort to tape over it instead of just writing next to it, because I feel as though that is actually the more scary thing. When people actually just write a sign next to something that's dangerous, that is just ridiculous, because even if it's not on purpose, things happen where things are accidents and whatnot. And so if someone was just passing through and they managed to brush past it and accidentally turn it on and then subsequently cause a big boom, then you can't really blame them for not having a tagged out system where at least with a little bit of tape it's a little bit protected. And look, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that this is the best way that they could have tagged this out, but I certainly hope in saying that it is only temporary and they actually just can remove whatever this is, whether it's an RCD or I don't even know what. Either way, obviously the entire situation is bad, but you have to give them some credit where they actually did tag it out instead of just leaving it for unbeknownst people to deal with later. I guess all it means is you have to be very careful that you don't have any disgruntled employees or any people that just go, I actually might like a big boom and just want to see what happens, because then you might have some serious problems on your hand. But otherwise, hopefully people have some common sense, which even though it's quite rare, I just hope that people can have for this once. If it's stupid and it works. Oh my goodness. I mean, like the title said, if it's stupid and it works, and it might not even be stupid, but look at that. The fact that they've just picked up a cone off the side of the road, or I just want to know where that cone has come from. I mean, I must say that generally every single cone ever actually has a little bit of a lip at the top, and so hopefully they may either cut that off or just dealt with it in some way, because otherwise I feel as though they might have a little bit of back pressure from the fuel. But no, I guess that seems to be working, whether or not that's their first jerry can and they've got 2 to go, or they've done 2 and that's the last one. Either way, it certainly looks interesting, but you have to give them credit for their ingenuity. If nothing else, they've gone, damn, I have no idea how we're going to be doing this. We don't have a funnel, we don't have anything. But we do have this cone. I guess we could use that. I mean, I can only assume that they would have been very relieved, if nothing else, when they opened the top of the fuel tank and the cone just managed to fit inside, because if you have to fill up, what, 60 liters of fuel into the tank, you certainly don't want to be spilling most of it all over the floor. But if I'm honest, I'm kind of surprised that they have to do this at all. You know, the fact that that fuel tank hasn't been engineered to have a little funnel that pops out as soon as you unscrew the lid is just kind of just surprising to me, considering the budget and engineering and design that goes into all of the military's technology. Because even though I have absolutely no idea where a truck like that would be deployed to, I can only assume that if they had to do this in a more, I don't know, war environment, it would probably look a little bit stupider when you have to get out the cone to refuel the thing. And so look, I don't really know if I can agree that this is OSHA, but like I said, I feel as though surely you can just engineer something that just pops out of the fuel tank to make it easier to refuel, because really there is no way that on the battlefield that wouldn't be considered OSHA, where really when they're just at home on a base, then I feel as though they're allowed to do things like this. But otherwise, no, the stakes are just too damn high to be dealing with a traffic cone as your only point of refueling. Gotta make it work. Whoa, wait, what? What am I even looking at here? I mean, I can only assume that those things on the left are electrical conduit, but what kind of massive pipe have they cut out? Is it some kind of massive water main? And also, what is the scale that we are looking at? I mean, those bolts do not look small, so man, that's a serious notch. How the hell would you even manage to get through a pipe like that in the first place, unless it was actually custom from the beginning, where there's no way that a cut that's that rough has been custom done for the pipe. I mean, I guess at least with an angle grinder you can kind of come up, but I have no idea how they did the one perpendicular to the wall. That just seems insane. But no, like I was saying, I would just love to know what that pipe is actually for. I mean, maybe it's a water pipe. It certainly doesn't seem to be marked as anything explosive or dangerous in that regard. I mean, maybe it just might be a sewage pipe as well, so I wouldn't want to be hacking into that too much. But either way, there is no way that it was engineered to be like that in the first place. I mean, I guess engineers stuffed up at some point in terms of designing that building, or maybe they just had to put it there and there were no holds bars. But it really does make me wonder how often things like this just happen because they have to. I mean, I must say, I do feel sorry for the poor buggers that had to do that, because there is no way that someone made that decision just on the fly. Like, someone would have gone, oh man, what do we have to do this for? Like, it would have been so much easier if we just could have moved it one way or another, or just actually considered it in the first place. But no, now it looks as though we have to go and hack into, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 mils of steel just to be able to get this conduit in. They just would have been scratching their heads about how the hell they were even going to do it in the first place, and also just probably just swearing a lot because they just went, man, this could have been so easily avoided otherwise. And so exactly like the title said, they just had to make it work. You know, there was no two ways about it. We needed to get the conduit in, and so I guess we just got to do what we got to do regardless of what kind of mayhem it might cause later. And so look, even though it certainly doesn't look the best, I can only hope that it was signed off by someone that actually knew what they were doing and actually could have the authority to go, yep, that actually, a little bit of the pipe could actually be chucked out. There is no need for it, and you can actually go ahead and put your conduit there, because if that pipe needed that little bit and that was the only thing holding it together, then oh man, I would not want to be in that building any much longer. OSHA approved lotto? Bad breaker check voltage even in off position. What the hell does that even mean, as well as what the hell does lotto even mean I mean, I know what a lotto is, but not in this circumstance. But by looking at the contextual clues, I'm gonna have a guess that they're saying that the electricity is still flowing when the brake was in the off position, and that's just scary. Does that mean that the thing is rusted, so it's always connected, or just broken in general and it never turns off, or what the hell is going on here? I mean, at least this one certainly doesn't have a massive 100 amps just written all over it, but at the same time, that's a pretty big handle that we're looking at right there, and so maybe it is just a big old thing. Either way, the person that wrote this has certainly not included the big boom very bad like the last person did, and so I don't know what's scary. Are they just not concerned, or they just don't know about it yet? But no, like I was saying, I just wish we knew a little bit more about what was going on here. Is it some kind of major thing? Why is it surrounded by so many other switches? Make, on, mark? Like, what the hell does that little tag down there mean? Why is there no tag on this one? On, off? There's so many different things, and I can only imagine this is quite an old system, and so it explains why the thing might be broken, but I feel as though if that's the case, it should probably be replaced. I mean, of course, that statement could be applied to virtually every single electrics thing that we see on this sub, but it's kind of just the right thing to be doing, I think. Oh, but I've just had a brainwave and I'm going, okay, now I understand what lotto means. Okay, it definitely would mean lockout, tag out. I was just going, surely I know what it means, and it's kind of just sitting in the back of my brain, but no, lockout, tag out, that's just, I've never seen it abbreviated like that before. And to be honest, I do love the fact that they put warning on the handle and hasn't nearly been rubbed off by people just kind of opening and closing, and so does that mean that this just kind of does work and people just kind of go, oh, that's not, oh, it's not working, oh, there we go, finally just clicked into gear? Or has it just been there for such a long time and never been replaced that this is actually nearly worn off the warning? That just sounds like it's a very, very bad situation to be around. I mean, I guess I do have to give this person some points considering the fact that they wrote it on the door and not on some tape, so it can't just be easily peeled off. Because really, depending on what it is, I'm sure you could just take some watery rag or maybe even just some metho, and I'm sure the texture would come off just fine, but that's a little bit harder to do than just taking off some tape. But no, like I said, I just wish that I knew a little bit more about what the hell was going on here, maybe even if just the photo was a little bit wider just to see what the scale of what's going on here, but I just do not know enough to really know how bad and how big the boom could possibly be. The green aisles are for walking on so we can avoid the tugs and forklifts. Ah, yes, the old, I'm just gonna park it here for a couple of minutes. I won't be long, no one will be bothered by it. And then a day later, the thing is still gonna be sitting there. I mean, that is the smallest forklift I have ever seen, so it isn't in as much as a way as some of them could be. But no, it's the fact that it's just so perfectly parked directly across the green. Like, really, there is no way that you'd be able to avoid that if you tried. I mean, unless this has actually just suddenly turned into the office and they're playing some hardcore parkour, just up and over it through the gates, around the steering wheel, and just back onto the green. You can choose your own adventure around or through the forklift, but hey, it's certainly not completely stopping you. But what can I say? It's just kind of a law of physics. If something is not meant to be there, it is just going to end up there. There's no two ways about it, regardless of whether it needs to be driven there or not. People are just going to be dumb and end up parking in the way. You know, it doesn't matter how many times they get told, it doesn't matter how many courses they go through saying don't park near exits, don't park in walkways. The thing is just going to end up there regardless of that. Like I said, they might be thinking that, oh, I'm not going to be long, I'm just going to jump out and grab this one thing, but really it looks as though there's so much room just in the actual kind of passageway that they very easily just could have parked in there instead of in the green walkway, and everything would have been fine. But no, they just had to go, you know, I'm just going to pull over here. No one ever walks through here anyway. And also, I've just realized that directly behind that forklift, there is a fire hydrant or, I don't know, fire extinguisher. And so maybe that is actually why they parked on the green. They went, I guess if I park on the red, I'm just going to get in trouble. And so I better not park there. I guess this is the next best thing. I mean, that certainly doesn't explain the one on the right unless I can't see a fire hydrant, extinguisher, or whatever may be hiding behind those staircases. But at the same time, that thing is so small and so streamlined that it almost looks as though it can go in the green, like it's allowed to be there. It's ridiculous. I've never seen such a skinny vehicle. But no, like I said, it's just always the vehicles that people go, oh, they're not very big, they're not going to be in the way, that they end up being in the way always. And also, I guess in saying that, sometimes because they are so small, they just aren't even really given a parking space. There's no space allocated for them, and so people go, I don't really know where to put them. And so it certainly doesn't excuse it, but maybe these people are in the mindset of, well, I guess if I park on the green, I annoy some pedestrians, but if I park in the passageway, then I annoy some big truck that's trying to get through, and then we're going to seriously have some problems. And so yeah, it doesn't make it right, but I'm just trying to make some kind of excuse for these people, because otherwise it is just dumb, isn't it? And so now finally, for the top of the one for OSHA, we have safety poster at an Amazon warehouse. Oh man, is this something out of The Simpsons? I haven't even gone through it all, but injuries year to date, 1 day without a recordable event. Wow, that is certainly just The Simpsons. Don't they go from like 7 to 0? But here we go. Let's go through them one by one. I-14, that is a serious amount of things. I would love to know how many people are working here, because to have 14 eye injuries as well as 19 head injuries, like, is that separate or is that in the same thing? And then 107, 57, 48, 63, and 50 feet. I mean, I guess in a warehouse I can kind of understand feet and back, but with a yearly total of 364, that is a serious amount of things. And really, I can imagine that this isn't just paper cuts and random little back spasms. No, this is actually serious injuries. I mean, I guess the argument with anything like this is, were they actually taught, or were they actually implementing the right lifting techniques and all those kind of things? Because if they weren't, then I don't really know if you can put on the employer. I mean, of course the employer definitely has to take some kind of responsibility for injuries, but really, if people are just being dumb, then they're just being dumb, and it's that simple. well. I mean, I'm certainly not saying that it's good or even just normal to be having 107 arm injuries and 57 back injuries, but I definitely feel as though there can be a balance between blaming the person because of their actions and also just blaming the bosses because they're rushing people or whatever it may be. The fact that they just weren't using the right technique can certainly be attributed to something. And even though in a perfect world we would love for the total injuries to be zero, at the same time, if this is a warehouse like an Amazon or distributed warehouse, I can only imagine that it has a lot of people working there. Like, let's say it's 1,000 people, I have no idea. But really, statistically speaking, I can only assume that you have to account for a level and a percentage of injuries to be occurring. Because like I said, regardless of whether people are actually being rushed or they're just doing the wrong thing, there is just always going to be accidents that are just coming from all which ways. So to be honest, even though it is a very one-sided view because people go, what's going to happen to my job, you can certainly understand why companies do love robots. Because if a robot breaks, you just fix it, you replace it, you don't get sued, you don't have to deal with any of the medical bills. It is honestly probably in the States cheaper to buy a robot than to pay for the hospital bills. And you can absolutely bet that there wouldn't be a list like this if every single job was a robot. I mean, like I said, it's not the best, but it certainly makes sense. Like I said, nothing that I've just said takes away from the fact that is a very scary number and we all wish that there could be zero, but you have to account for some level of something, and I guess it is more so the fact that it's Amazon. As for example, I heard that allegedly they lose so many people and the turnover rate is so high that they're just running out of people to employ at this rate. And so when you hear a statistic like that and then you see a chart like this, it just makes you kind of reconsider how bad your workplace really is. But anyway, that is going to do it for the top of the month for OSHA, so thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below and let me know if you had a favorite post out of any of these. Other than that, we look at awesome posts all over Reddit, so make sure you check some of the other videos out now, or hey, maybe you even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya!